Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Wherever you are joining us from, welcome to today's workshop on generative AI. Today we have a lineup of speakers ready to present, to share their expertise with us. And so we are going to just allow them to go into what it is that they have to share with us so that we ourselves can learn from these presenters. Today we have with us Professor Dr. Sharvari Tamane, Professor Vasudeva Aravind, Professor Dadheech, and Dr. Rohan Jowallah. And so we are going to go into our presentation on AI, generative AI. We all know where we are with AI and how impactful or where we are going with AI in our society. And so we're going to be calling on our first presenter, which is Dr. Tamane. Tamane. I hope I got it right, Doc. So Doc, I'm going to just allow you to share your screen whilst I go ahead and share your bio.
Yeah. Is my screen visible, ma'am? Is my screen visible? Am I audible?
Yes, Doc. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So thank you so much. World Resources.
Just let me go ahead and share your bio, Doc, please.
Yeah. Is it okay?
Yes. Dr. Sharvari Tamane is a professor and head of the University Department of Information and Communication Technology at MGM University. All right, let me just start over. Dr. Tamane is a professor and head of the University Department of Information and Communication Technology at MGM University, Maharashtra, India, with over 27 years of teaching experience. She has published 9 patents and registered 5 copyrights. Dr. Tamane has edited 3 significant books on big data and smart cities and contributed over 100 research papers to notable conferences and journals. She has authored chapters for IGI, Global, and Springer, and a textbook titled Data Structures Using C. Recognized with the Best HOD of the Year Award at CSI TechNet India 2019. Her book, Big Data Analytics for Smart and Connected Cities, is among Big Authority, Best Big Data Book. Dr. Tamane has delivered keynote speeches and seminars at over 50 institutions worldwide and served as program chair for various international conferences, such as IEEE, IEI, among others. She has guided 5 PhD students to completion and participated as a panelist in conferences on sustainable development and data science career. I now present to you Dr. Tamane. Doc?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, World Resources webinar, for giving me the opportunity to present the talk on Introduction to Generative AI. So these are the contents of my presentation. Generative AI, working of generative AI and generative AI model types, and if possible, we'll cover generative AI applications. So generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence technology that can produce various types of contents, including text, imagery, audio, and synthetic data. But what is AI? So we have 2 common questions asked. So whenever we are looking for this generative AI. So one is, what is AI and what is the difference between AI and machine learning? So one way to think about this is, AI is a discipline. It is a field of study or an area of expertise with its own set of principles, theories, methodologies, and practices. So here we are relating AI to the creation, development, and application of intelligent agents or systems. So essentially, we say that AI has to do with the theory and methods to build machines that think and act like humans. So in this discipline, we also have machine learning, which is a subfield of AI. It involves development of algorithms and statistical models that enable computers to perform tasks without explicit programming. And machine learning is crucial for many AI applications, as it allows systems to improve their performance through experience. So machine learning gives the ability to computers to learn without explicit programming. Two of the most common classes of machine learning models are unsupervised and supervised machine learning models. And the key difference between the two is that with supervised models, we have labels. Labeled data is data that comes with a tag like name, type, or a number. And unlabeled data is data that comes with no tag. So we'll see one example of supervised learning. So this graph is an example of the problem that a supervised model might try to solve. So for example, let's say you are the owner of the restaurant and you have historical data of the bill amount and how much different people tipped based on order type and whether it was picked up or delivered. So in supervised learning, the model learns from the past examples to predict future values. So in this case here, tips. So the model uses total bill amount to predict the future tip amount based on whether an order was picked up or delivered. So here the features we are going to use are bill amount, that is the total amount of the bill, order type, that is the order was for pickup or delivery, or the target variable is tipping amount, which is given by the customers. So we'll see this by using the different steps. So first step is the data collection, where we can gather the historical data. So in this case, which includes the information about the bill amount, order type, and the corresponding tip amount. Then the next step is data pre-processing, where it will be able to clean and pre-process the data. And it also normalizes or scales the numerical features. Then comes the data splitting, where the splitting of the data set into training and testing sets is there. Then model selection, we can choose a supervised learning model suitable for predicting the tip amount based on the given features. And the general models used are linear regression, decision trees, and the ensemble methods like random forest. Then the next step is feature engineering, where the extract relevant features from the data can be enhanced and it will predict then the performance. So here we can create new features also, which can be the week or the time of the day, or that might influence the tipping behavior. Next comes the model training. So where train the selected model using the training data set, and then the model learns relationship between the features like bill amount and order type and the target variable during this phase. The next is the model evaluation, where it can evaluate the model's performance on the tested data set. And the common metrics used here are regression tasks, which includes the mean absolute error, mean squared error, and the R squared. Then comes the model tuning, where the fine tuning of the model is needed if required. And then this may involve adjusting the hyperparameters to improve the performance. And the next is the prediction. So where once satisfied with the model's performance, it can be used to make the predictions on the new data. So here in this case, if a customer places an order, the model can predict the likely tip amount based on the bill amount and the order type. So we need to continuously monitor and the model's performance over the time. And if there are changes in the customer behavior or other factors, the model may need to be updated or may need to be retrained. In case of unsupervised learning, so here we can use another example. Suppose we want to look at the tenure and income and the group of, and then we want to suppose group the, or we can cluster the employees to see whether someone is on the fast track. So this unsupervised learning problems, so they can discover about looking at the raw data and seeing if it naturally falls into different groups. So here in this example, we are looking at employee data, specifically tenure and income. And with the goal of grouping clustering of the employees, so we can identify different patterns. So that may indicate whether someone is on the fast track. So here also we'll be using different steps. Like the first step is data collection to gather the data of the employees. And then the next is feature selection, where we can choose the relevant features for clustering. Here we can choose the features as tenure and income. And then the data, we can explore the data, so which will examine the raw data to understand its characteristics and distributions. And then we can visualize tools such as scatter plots and histograms, which can be useful for gaining the insights. Then we go for the normalization or scaling. So if the scales of the features are significantly different, we have to normalize or scale the data to ensure that no single feature dominates the clustering process. Then we can choose the clustering algorithm. It can be either k-means or the hierarchical clustering, DB-scan. So any of your choice you can choose. Then we can go for clustering. So we can apply the chosen algorithm to the data to group employees based on their tenure and income. Then it can be analyzed and whatever the resulting clusters are there, so by which we can understand the patterns and relationship within the data. And we can, here we are looking for the clusters that might indicate whether an employee is on the fast track based on their tenure and income. Then we can visualize the clusters to make the patterns more interpretable. So this may involve creating scatter plots for seeing the different clusters. Then labeling we can use. So if the clusters have meaningful interpretation, we can label them based on the characteristics that emerge from the analysis. Then the next one is interpretation and action. So where we can use the insights gained from the clustering to inform decision making. For example, so here if a certain cluster consistently represents employees on the fast track, then this information can be used for talent management strategies. So like if we may also go for the additional data if available to validate the clusters to ensure their stability and unreliability. So here the unsupervised learning allowing us to explore the raw employee data without predefined categories and discover natural groupings that may be indicative of employees on the fast track based on their tenure and income. So in supervised learning, we can go for the testing the data values, or we may take the X as the input into the model. Then the model outputs a prediction and compares that prediction to the training data used to train the model. If the predicted test data values and actual training data values are far apart, that's called the error. And then the model tries to reduce this error until the predicted and actual values are close together. And in unsupervised learning, algorithm tasked with discovering inherent structures or patterns in the data. We have explored the difference between the AI and machine learning. So we can also go for the deep learning, so where it fits as a subset of machine learning models. So deep learning uses AI neural networks. So we can say that here the machine learning is broad field that encompasses many different techniques, and deep learning is a type of machine learning that uses artificial neural networks, which allows to process more complex patterns than the machine learning. So artificial neural networks are inspired by the human brain, and therefore they are made up of many interconnected nodes or neurons that can learn to perform tasks by processing data and making the different predictions. And the deep learning models typically have many layers of neurons, which allows them to learn more complex patterns than traditional machine learning models. And neural networks can use both labeled and unlabeled data. So this is also called as semi-supervised learning. In this, a neural network is trained on a small amount of labeled data and a large amount of unlabeled data. And the labeled data helps the neural network to learn the basic concepts of the tasks, while the unlabeled data helps the neural network to generalize the new examples. So generative AI is actually a subset of deep learning, which means it uses artificial neural networks and can process both labeled and unlabeled data using supervised, unsupervised, and semi-supervised model. Generative AI models are actually aimed to generate new data instances so that resemble the training data. So these models learn the underlying patterns and structures of the data and allows them to create novel examples. So the artificial neural networks with multiple layers, these are capable of learning complex representation and patterns. And the labeled data, that is the supervised learning. So generative models can be trained in a supervised learning setting where the model is provided with labeled examples. For instance, in image generation, the model might be trained to generate images of specific categories. And in case of unsupervised learning, they can learn the underlying distribution of the training data without explicit labels. And this is often used in tasks such as generating realistic images, text, or other data types. And the semi-supervised learning, so generative models can also operate on these models. So where the training data set contains a combination of labeled and unlabeled examples. And the applications of the generative AI are there in various domains like image synthesis, text generation, style transfer, and many more are there. And it has been used to create realistic deep fake videos, generative art, and even assist the data in augmentation for training other models also. So the large language models are also a subset of deep learning. Large language models such as GPT models are a type of ANN architecture designed for natural language understanding and generation. And these models are typically based on the transformer architectures, which have proven highly effective for tasks involving sequential data, such as language. So these models are often pre-trained on massive amounts of text data from the internet, learning the statistical properties, structure, and semantics of the language. They are generative in nature in the sense that given a prompt or the context, they can generate coherent and contextually relevant text. And this can be achieved by sampling or generating the most likely next word or sequence of words based on the learned language patterns. There are different applications of large language models in natural language processing tasks, including text completion, language translation, summarization, question answering, and even creative text generation. So these deep learning models or machine learning models in general can be divided into two types, generative and discriminative. So discriminative model is a type of model that is used to classify or predict labels for data points. And these are typically trained on a data set of labeled data points, and they learn the relationship between the features of the data points and the labels. So once these models are trained, it can be used to predict the label for new data points. So these models are typically used for classification tasks where the goal is to distinguish between different classes or categories. Generative model generates new data instances based on a learned probability. distribution of existing data. And therefore, the generative models generate new contents. These aim to model the joint probability distribution of the input data and labels. And in this case, we can say here the language models, where they aim to capture the distribution of sequences of words. And the generative models can be used to generate new data instances that resembles the training data. Yeah. Um, let's take one example over here. So the discriminative model learns the conditional probability distribution or the probability of y. So the discriminative model learns. When we have the given x as an input, so here in this case the dog, so it classifies it as a dog and not a cat. And in case of generative model, it learns the joint probability distribution or the probability of x and y and predicts the conditional probability that this is a dog and can then generate a picture of a dog. We can also take the different examples. So coin toss generator or classifier. So here the objective can be, imagine we want a model which a fair coin toss using a generative model, and we can create a model that can generate the sequences of heads and tails that resemble the behavior of a real coin. And using the generative model, this scenario can be probabilistic model that based on the learned distribution, it generates the sequences of heads and tails with probabilities reflecting a fair coin. So application of this is the generative model might generate sequences like heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, like this. And in case of generative model, it can be a coin toss classifier, so which can classify the outcomes of the coin tosses as either heads or tails. So the discriminative model, a logistic regression model, can be a simple discriminative. So it takes the input feature related to the coin toss and outputs a probability of the toss resulting in heads. So whatever it is. We also have the other examples, but because of the time constraint, we'll just skip it. So to summarize, so this generative models can generate new data instances, while discriminative models discriminate between different kinds of data instances. So here in this, the top image shows a traditional machine learning model which attempts to learn the relationship between the data and the label or what you want to predict. And the bottom image shows a generative AI model which attempts to learn patterns on content so that it can generate new content. So a good way to distinguish what is generative AI and what is not is shown here. It is not generative AI when the output or the Y or the label is a number or a class, for example, spam or not spam or a probability. And it is generative AI when the output is natural language like speech or text or image or audio. So visualizing this mathematically, we can say that y is equal to f of x. This equation calculates the dependent output of a process given different inputs. Y stands for the model output and the f embodies the function used in the calculation and x represents the input or inputs used for the formula. So the model output is a function of all inputs. If the y is number like predicted cells, it is not generative AI. If y is a sentence like defined cells, it is generative as the question would elicit a text response. So the response would be based on all the massive large data the model was already trained on. So this high level traditional classical supervised and unsupervised learning process takes training code and label data to build a model. And depending upon the use case or the problem, the model can give you a prediction. It can classify something or cluster something. The generative AI process can take training code, labeled data, and unlabeled data um, of all data types and build a foundation model. And the foundation model can then generate new contents. So, for example, text, code, images, audio, or video. So, in the traditional programming, to neural networks to generative models, we can use to have the hard code, that is the rules for distinguishing different things like a cat or which we can say it is a type of animal which has legs, which has ears, which has fur. So then we can predict that it can be a cat. And if you want to write a program for that, so we need to write the manually, we need to code for it. So like we can write if type is equal to animal, or legs is equal to 4, or ears is equal to 2, fur equal to guess, then we can say that it will return a cat, otherwise it returns not a cat. So the programmer defines a set of conditions that they believe characterize a cat. So while this approach might work for simple cases, it becomes challenging to capture the complexity and variability of real world data, especially in tasks like image recognition. And in the wave of neural networks, we could give the new network pictures of cats and dogs and ask if this a cat, and it would predict a cat like this. Ma'am, let me know how much time is remaining for me so that I can go ahead.
So, Tamane, you said wrap up in just a minute, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just skip this part. Yeah, I'll go with this. We can say that here in the generative wave, as the users can generate our own content, whether it be text, image, audio, video. So the model like Palm or Pathways language model, or we can say Lambda, we can use it for the dialogue applications. It ingests very large data from the multiple sources across the internet and build foundation language models. We can use simply by asking a question, whether typing it into a prompt or verbally talking into the prompt itself. So when you ask what's a cat, it can give you everything it has learned about the cat. So this topic is actually very big, so it's very difficult to stop somewhere. So I think if the time is over, I will like to stop here.
We understand.
Yeah, because we have so many things ahead, but because of the time constraints, I think it is not possible to go ahead. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you too, Doc.
Yeah.
We are going to take some questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Question.
Any questions? Yes.
Yes. Can I go ahead and ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Thank you for the great talk, Dr. Tamane. So I want to know, in the near future and in the, let's say, in the next, say, 1 year or so, and let's say in the next 5 years or so, where do you see what kind of new applications or new areas do you think AI is gonna venture into, and how is the world going to change in the near future, like 1 year or 1 to 5 years? Can you please share your thoughts? Thank you.
Yeah, there are so many applications. So we can say that in the natural language processing, we have the chatbots and the virtual assistants. Then we can also go for the image and video generation, where we can have the art and design applications, or deep fakes are there, photo enhancements are there. And in case of music and sound generation also, there are so many applications in healthcare, like drug discovery, medical imaging, gaming also, in fashion. So there are so many fields where we can have the applications of this generative AI.
Thank you, Doc. Any other questions? Doc, you would have made mention of generative, let me ensure, generative model. How can you use this in different industries? How can it be used in different industries?
Sorry, can you repeat, ma'am?
What are some practical applications of generative models in different industries? I don't know if that
Generative?
is something. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not able to understand your question, ma'am.
Okay. Along your presentation before, I think you made mention of generative model.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I was asking, how can this be used in different industries? I don't know if that's a part of anything that you were presenting or would have presented.
Yeah, these models we can use in various applications in the image and the text generation, data augmentation, and many more. So we can the structure of the generative models are it may consist of neural networks, generator, discriminator, and so we need to train this properly, and then we can use it for various applications. So we can also go for the auto regressive models, where the models that can be that generates the data one step at a time, and using the previous outputs as the inputs for the next step. So like this, there are different things so which we can go for, and we can use these models. Transformer based models are also there, then the diffusion models are also there. So there are so many options so which we can make use of.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So do I have any other questions? We'll be moving on. Let me just remind the audience to please keep your microphone muted throughout the presentations, as it can be very much disruptive. I'm seeing one question inside here by Ms. Pine that said, how can the AI generative model be used to improve TVET training for persons with a disability?
We used to improve.
Yes, so improve TVET
Mhm.
training for persons with disabilities.
Yeah, I need to see this for this, ma'am. So I don't have currently the answer for this question.
Okay, all right. No problem. Thank you so much, Doc.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so we're going to be moving on to Professor Aravind. Doc, you can go ahead and share your video whilst I share your bio.
Yeah, you can share my screen.
Yeah, share your screen in the meantime.
Yes.
Dr. Vasudeva Rohan Aravind is an associate professor at Clarion University in the United States. With a robust background in physics and physics education, Dr. Aravind is renowned for his innovative pedagogical approaches, particularly the integration of computer-based learning methods and intelligent tutoring systems in physics education. His expertise has been recognized globally, evidenced by his numerous invited talks and conference presentations, over 14 invited talks, and more than 25 conference presentations worldwide. Dr. Aravind has a significant publication record with over 20 peer-reviewed articles that have garnered international citations. His contribution to research and educational innovation has been acknowledged through 8 research and educational innovation grants. Additionally, he serves as a reviewer for 5 prominent journals spanning the fields of education, nanotechnology, and sustainable energy. Dr. Aravind worked in enhancing physics education through high-impact practices continues to influence and inspire the academic community worldwide. I now present Dr. Aravind to make his insightful and impactful presentation. You can go ahead, sir, when you're ready. And we're seeing your screen.
Thank you, Ms. Sharvari, and thank you for the great introduction. And
You're welcome,
thank you to
sir.
Dr. Thank you. And thank you to Dr. Tamane for an excellent talk. And I think this talk fits in context very well right after Dr. Tamane's talk on artificial intelligence. So in her talk, Dr. Tamane introduced us to the basics of artificial intelligence and generative AI. So she talked about how there are different branches of AI and how they all fit together and what you can do with different types of AIs. She gave us an excellent introduction. And what I'm going to do is my talk is going to be very focused. The scope of my talk is going to be very focused because, as Sharian mentioned, my interest primarily lies in student learning and education, specifically physics education and engineering education. So I'm going to talk about how AI is relevant to the field of learning in general and physics education and engineering education in specific. And you may have, for those of you who have been with us for the previous webinars, may have remembered one of the talks from Dr. Rohan Jowallah. So he went uh, at large and he talked about how AI can be concerning, how it can be affecting student learning, which is actually a very valid point. Because, as university professors or even as school teachers, we want to make sure that our teaching and learning system is fair. We don't want any student to get unfair advantages. And, there are standards set for the purpose. If you want somebody to graduate with a degree in physics, we want to make sure that they have knowledge in physics. We don't want them to be simply copying things from other students or even from AI to be able to pass their courses. So it's very, very important that fairness is maintained. And I'm going to take another angle as well. My argument is, how can I use artificial intelligence to be specific, a tool like ChatGPT for understanding and actually improving student learning. And one of the biggest challenges that professors face, college professors face, is access to resources, especially for the students. So, for example, in a university like mine, where I have thousands of students, and let's say hundreds of students come to a very challenging course like physics, for example, in the first year introduction to physics class. So, understanding a challenging subject like physics or computer science takes up a lot of work, right? And also, this is a case where privilege plays an important role. For example, suppose people need tutors in order to understand physics concepts well and to do well in a physics class. It's possible that there are some people who are, let's say, some students who are children of maybe rich parents who can afford tutors. So they can afford maybe even in-person tutors that can actually provide some kind of a privileged special education for some set of students. And those who are underprivileged will be left out. They will not be able to pay for tutors, so they will not be able to pay for get a good quality education. Because certainly an advanced field like physics or engineering or computer science takes up a lot of extra effort. So my question is, how can we level the playing field using artificial intelligence tools? So I'm going to talk about one particular concept called prompt engineering to improve student learning gains. So I'm going to talk a little bit about all these important topics. First of all, what is prompt engineering and how is it relevant to student learning? What do we define? What's the definition of prompt engineering? How do we define prompt engineering in the first place? And we'll go into how to ask the right questions. So prompt engineering, as you know, is about asking questions and refining the information that we get from ChatGPT or an AI-based tool like ChatGPT. And one interesting thing about ChatGPT and other AI tools are, it will answer your questions, period. right? So which means that if you ask the right questions, it will give you the appropriate answers that are relevant to your learning. But at the same time, if you do not ask the right questions, you will not be able to, it will still give you the right answers. If you program it properly, it will still give you the right answers, but they may not be relevant to what you're trying to understand. So how do we ask the right questions? And how do we connect AI and learning? How can we make use of advanced tools in artificial intelligence to improve student learning? That's going to be the focus of this talk. So first of all, I want to talk about a few basic concepts involving prompt engineering. First of all, clarity and precision are important. For example, when we are trying to understand a subject, we work either on a very, very focused and narrow topic, or we may want to work on a broader topic. For example, let's say I want to understand Newton's laws in physics, which is actually one of the first things that students learn in a physics class. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to understand what Newton's laws are all about, or are we trying to solve a particular problem involving Newton's laws? If we are trying to understand Newton's law from a broad perspective, then our focus is, we don't have a focus, it's actually relatively broad. So, maybe we want to understand why Newton's laws are important in life, or, what Newton's laws are all about and things like that. Whereas, if you're trying to solve a specific problem involving Newton's laws, maybe we are trying to find out, my concern is all about just trying to solve this particular problem. And I don't really worry about other aspects of Newton's laws. So based on whatever your requirement is, whether it's a very focused or very broad, we want to be able to, first of all, have a clarity and precision on what we are trying to do here. We want to be clear about what we want to learn, what we want to learn from ChatGPT, and how precisely we want our answers to be. Do we want our answers to be categorized to a particular location? Do we want the answers to be maybe categorized to a particular set of individuals, things like that, right? And second thing is one of the most important things is contextual relevance. What do we mean by contextual relevance? So when I ask a question to ChatGPT, the context is very important. For example, let's take the word react, for example. When I say react, when I say ask ChatGPT about something called react, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to ask ChatGPT, how do I react to a particular situation? Or am I talking about this particular software called React, which helps you design web pages that are interactive, right? And third and the most important thing is iterative refinement. One of the greatest things with AI-based tools like ChatGPT is our search doesn't stop with a single question, unlike let's say Google search or Microsoft search. Now we are in a position to, based on whatever output the ChatGPT gives us, we are able to ask questions based on the output. Maybe the answer was relevant to you, but maybe you're looking for somewhat of a nuanced answer. Or maybe the answer was not at all relevant to you, and you're looking for the answers in a different context. For example, let's say I'm planning to travel to, let's say, Spain, and I asked ChatGPT to give me some good food options. So I'm here, I'm working at it. I'm looking at ChatGPT. I'm asking the question, let's say, in America, and I ask the question, hey, suggest some good foods for me, and ChatGPT will give me some good food options. But then, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm traveling to Spain. I want to know what's a good food to eat in Spain. What's the specialty in Spain? So in that case, I have to, so after getting the answer from ChatGPT, I can refine the answer further saying that, hey, what you're saying is good, but, I'm not asking for food in America. I'm asking for good food in Spain. And then maybe it gives me so many different options. And then, I can also say, hey, it's good that you gave me so many options, but I see that a lot of the good options contain meat, and I don't eat meat. I'm vegetarian, so give me only food that is vegetarian. So I can keep on refining like that. And maybe, I have some, even after getting, let's say, vegetarian food, maybe I have some nut allergies. So give me food that does not contain, let's say, peanuts or something like that. So I can keep on iterating it and refining the answer. Right? So it's a highly goal-oriented approach, meaning that, based on how much time you want to spend with ChatGPT, or based on how much effort you're willing to put in, you can make it as goal-oriented approach as you want. And finally, adaptability, which is actually a great tool that ChatGPT has afforded us. For example, let me discuss this adaptability in the context of, let's say, a student trying to learn engineering or physics or any concept. So the ChatGPT is great because it can adapt to students who are highly intelligent. Maybe there are highly intelligent students who are looking to learn the concepts further from where the teacher, maybe they're trying to take over from where the teacher has left them with, right? So in that case, the ChatGPT has to adapt to this highly intelligent student and provide some advanced concepts. At the same time, maybe the ChatGPT is working with a poor student who is very, very basic understanding of that, has very limited knowledge and is trying to do better in the class. So for the student, ChatGPT has to adapt the level of support, the level of guidance accordingly based on the level of the student. So all these things can be done with the artificial intelligence tools we have these days. So with that, I will go on to show a small demo of how you could use ChatGPT to learn, let's suppose, Newton's laws in physics. So I'm going to show you some basic ideas. Actually, let's suppose that my idea, in fact, is actually to solve a physics problem. But I want to also get a general information about Newton's law. I'm trying to understand Newton's laws and also try to solve this problem. How do I go about doing it? So I'm going to start with something like, hey, ChatGPT, I am trying to understand Newton's laws for my introduction to physics class at the university and the university level. Okay, and then I'm going to go on to say, explain to me. Okay, so I don't know anything about Newton's laws. So first, please explain why they are important to provide a motivation for me to learn. Yeah. Okay, and restrict your answer to 50 words, let's say. Okay, because I don't want to be overwhelmed with a big answer, so I say 50 words. So it says Newton's law are fundamental for understanding. Okay, so I think I should share my screen. I hope you're still able to see my screen, right?
Yes, Professor.
Okay,
Yes,
and you're able to see the ChatGPT on the screen?
Yes, please.
Very good. Okay. All right. So Newton's laws are fundamental for understanding how the objects move and interact. They explain everyday phenomena like why we don't float off Earth and how cars accelerate and so on. So then I might be going on to say, that's so interesting. Can Newton's laws explain to us how rockets work also? Yeah, so and then it gives you some more information in order to make the conversation more interesting. And then I might be going on to ask, okay, what are some let's say devices or instruments that work, or devices or machines that work based on Newton's laws. Okay, so it gives me a whole range of instruments: airplanes, roller coasters, elevators, hammers and pulleys, and they rely on principles of motion, forces, and action pairs to function effectively, and so on. And then, okay, and then now I'm interested and motivated to learn. So I will say, please explain Newton's first law to me with an example. Okay, so it says Newton's law says that an object will remain at rest or in uniform motion unless acted upon by an external force. For example, a soccer ball will stay until it is kicked, and once kicked, it will keep moving until friction or another force stops it. Pretty relevant, right? So I think that gives me a good introduction to Newton's laws. Okay, and then I will go on to say, explain Newton's second law to me. The acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the net force acting, and F is equal to ma, and so on, right? And then I might go on to say, so here is a problem I am trying to solve. So let's say the problem is something like, maybe this is an example problem from a textbook or so. A force of 25.0 newtons is applied to an object sitting on a smooth floor. The mass of the object is 10.0 kilogram. Calculate the acceleration of the object. Calculate the acceleration experienced by the object. Okay, so it gives me, so it's just a simple example just to give us an illustration of how this can be used for understanding a simple thing such as Newton's second law. And then we can also go on to ask something more complicated. Explain to me what drawing a free body diagram means in the context of Newton's laws. So a free body diagram is a graphical representation used to visualize the forces acting on an object. It helps to apply Newton's laws by isolating an object using external forces such as friction. And suppose, I'm interested in seeing how to apply the free body diagram to an object that is familiar or an object that appears in a question, right? So I have a question in which an object is placed on a rough incline and it stays there without moving. I am required to state and label all the forces acting on the object. Can you help me identify the forces acting on the object? And then it goes on to say, it says gravitational force, normal force, friction force, and so on. And then we can use this to go further. For example, how do these forces interact in such a way the object stays at rest? Because I see that these forces are not acting along the same line. They all seem to be acting in different directions. Okay, then it says then it talks about how to take components of the force, take a parallel component, perpendicular component, and how you can balance the forces and so on. So essentially, and we can keep on going with this, we can go one level to another and try to explain how we can understand Newton's laws in the context of a specific problem that is given to a student. So I'll stop the demo there. That's what I wanted to talk about. And then I wanted to talk about the benefits of this kind of chat GPT based learning for the students. So I teach at a university that is populated mostly by students from the rural areas with not much access to educational facilities, and they went to a school in a rural area uh, where so the language learning, the physics learning that they have from their high school when they come to college is not great, because they went to a school, underfunded school, which did not have sufficient amount of resources to make them experts in the subject. So for that, in that case, it provides personalized learning. And I do get some students who are very brilliant as well. Some students who come from elite in high schools. So and in the class, during the class time, I'm restricted because I cannot attend individually to each and every student. In fact, I have to address the entire class. But working offline with ChatGPT the outside of class hours is not the same thing. The ChatGPT, is personal to every student, and it's capable of providing personalized learning to each and every student, which is actually a great advantage because that is something that all students miss. And so the ChatGPT, first of all, it's able to educate the student, and at the same time, it's also capable of providing instant feedback to the student. If a student, answers a question correctly from ChatGPT, then it says, "Hey, congratulations, you answered the question correctly," and so on. On the other hand, if the student gives them a wrong answer, then ChatGPT knows, "Hey, that's not the correct answer. This is how you can do it," and so on.
Professor
And it's
Aravind,
available. Yeah.
sorry, you have 25 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, it has 24/7 access to students, and it allows for interactive engagement, and we are able to get a wide, diverse resources. I mean, whether you want to learn math or you want to learn science or anything else, anything advanced subject or law or medicine, it's capable of doing anything. So in conclusion, we looked at what prompt engineering is and how it can enhance learning in students. We looked at some interactive examples where we had a demo of how we can use ChatGPT or AI-based tools in order to learn subjects better. And there's always option to explore more. So I encourage you to explore more to see what else can be done. So thank you all for your attention, and I'll stop there and take questions. Thank you, Sharvari.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Do we have any questions for Professor Aravind? Any questions? Could you just mute your microphones if you are not asking a question, please? Asimobi. All right, Doctor, you.
I see a question on the chat.
Okay. Given funding restraint, okay, right. So given funding
constraints in some schools, what options are being explored to make it available to these students? Very good. So, so in case of funding constraints, yes, you're right. That is actually a very important concern because the more amount of resources that you have, the quality of education also tends to be better. That is true. But talking about AI-based tools, these days it's available for everybody, and even in a cash-strapped school like let's say a rural institution, nowadays computers and internet are not a luxury. Almost everybody has that. So one great thing about ChatGPT or AI-based tools is we can use the existing resources. It's almost no extra cost, and we can make it available to students no matter what their background is. So I'm not aware of any options. I mean, it's always, we need to explore options to improve funding to schools. But the great thing about ChatGPT is, it doesn't require too much extra funding in order to make it available for the students. Hopefully, I answered the question for Isha Pine. Thank you.
But that is just one AI tool, Doc, ChatGPT, where it gives you a free version, which you know that the other version you would have to pay. But what about different? Because a lot of times when people hear about AI, the first thing we think about is ChatGPT.
Yes.
But you have other AI tools that you have to pay for.
Yes.
Especially depending on the subject area.
Yes.
For example, arts and craft, you would have to, are there, let me ask first, are there free AI tools that can be used in an area like this, or do you have to pay for software, AI software in this field?
Good question. But these days, I'm sure, yeah, for that, we need to explore more options for funding. But also, I think, as time goes by, as these tools get more and more popular, I think the cost is also likely to come down. So let's remain hopeful on that.
Okay. Any other question? Doc, when people hear about AI, especially lecturers, teachers, they start thinking that, I don't even want to say students are cheating. Don't want to use that word, but it's like they're skeptical about students using ChatGPT.
So personally,
Right?
my opinion, yeah, good question. That's a very good question. So personally, my opinion is, maybe it's relevant in my context, maybe it is not relevant to other contexts. So in my class, I mostly teach, when I teach physics and subjects like that, it's mostly an in-person class, which means that the only way to students to pass the course is by actually writing examinations, sitting in front of the instructor. And that is in a controlled environment. There is no possible cheating there because there is supervision. Now, there is also some component of the grade that comes from, let's say, homeworks and things like that. So for that, I really don't mind if my students are using AI-based tools in order to improve their learning. And even if, they really want to, so to say, I don't want to use the word cheat, but even if they want to do that, even if they want to have AI do it for them, they are maybe going to get 20% in the course because, that's all homeworks are worth in my course, for example. So it's not a major concern for me because I'm going to evaluate them on written content anyway.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Doc. What's one last question? Do you source AI? Do you make reference to AI when you're, let's say, for example, you're writing a research paper? Do you say that you get your content from AI? Because we do use AI to back up certain things. Would you reference AI or ChatGPT that you?
So good question. So in my case, it may be specific to me, but I do use AI, but that's more for exploratory reasons, right? So which means that let's say I want to write a paper on artificial intelligence resources for physics, then I might begin my exploration with I might ask ChatGPT, just like chat with a friend. Hey, what are some ways that physics can be learned better through? What are the tools, AI tools that help us learn physics better? So mine is more of an exploratory consultation, so to say, with ChatGPT, and I'm not necessarily just I'm not necessarily just copy pasting or brainlessly just taking this and putting it in. That way, I'm not doing it. So I in my way, in personally, I think that there is no need to reference ChatGPT unless you are just copy pasting what ChatGPT tells you. Let's say you are believing what ChatGPT tells you exactly, and you're just putting it on your paper, which is not the right thing to do anyway. So I think that's where I draw the line. If I'm using it only for exploratory questions, I don't think I'll need to reference that. But who knows? The situation might change, the standards might change. If the standards change, then I'll change myself as well.
Okay, Doc. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, thank you for that presentation.
Mhm.
All right, we're now going to be moving on to our next presenter, Dr. Dadheech.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can go ahead and share your presentation, and then I'll go ahead and read your bio.
Okay,
Okay.
right now, I will screen is showing.
Stop sharing, Dr. Aravind.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yes. All right, so I'll go ahead and just read the bio in the meantime. Dr. Pankaj Dadheech is a distinguished professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering in Swami Peshvanand Institute of Technology, Management and Brahmotan, SKIT, in Jaipur. He brings a wealth of experience and expertise to the institution, showcasing a proven track record in the technological landscape. Dr. Dadheech is proficient in a wide range of domains, including SQL, C++, JavaScript, HTML, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and Microsoft SQL Server, among others. As a stalwart in his field, Dr. Dadheech is committed to advancing knowledge and fostering a culture of innovation within the academic community. His contributions to the field of computer science and engineering have not only enriched the curriculum at SKIT, but have also inspired students and colleagues to explore new technological frontiers and embrace innovative solutions in their work. Professor Dadheech, Dr. Dadheech,
Yes.
we're seeing your presentation. You can go ahead, sir.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Today I am presenting the future of generative AI. So the agenda is like this introduction to generative AI tools, what behind the sudden.
Dr. Dadheech,
Yes.
you're sounding a little bit blurred. If you could just come to the microphone a little.
Yes, yes. Now it is audible properly.
Yes, sir.
So my agenda is introduction to generative AI tools, what behind the sudden hype about generative AI, opportunities, applications, case study like admissions, risk of generative AI, future trends. So first come to AI. So AI refers to the capability of machines to emulate human intelligence. Means it involves in enabling machines to understand, reason, learn, and make decisions like humans. So AI systems can process vast amount of data, identify patterns, and adjust their responses based on their learning. So its goal is to create systems that can think and act intelligently. Then machine learning, it involves the training a computational system to improve its performance on a specific task by learning patterns and relationships from historical or past data without requiring explicit programming. So this process enables the machine to make predictions or decisions based on new data by generalizing from its learned knowledge of the old data. Then deep learning, it is a subset of machine learning that uses artificial neural networks to learn from data. So these networks are inspired by the human brain and are capable of learning complex patterns in various types of data such as video, audio, images, natural language processing. So this capability allows the deep learning to tackle the task about and going even impossible for traditional machine learning algorithms to learn. So you can see the artificial intelligence, then the subset machine learning, then deep learning, and then generative AI. So generative AI, it is a subset of deep learning models that generates content like text, images, or code based on provided input, so trained on vast data sets, and these models detect patterns and create outputs without explicit instruction using a mix of supervised and unsupervised. So, like real life example, we can see the self-driving car. So, what a human does, so watching out for possible obstacles like traffic signs, cars, and people crossing, paying attention to the lane markings and the speed limit, constantly make decisions about how to react to the changing conditions on the road. And as a human driver, we have the benefit of years of experience and training to help us making decisions safely. So the self-driving cars need to learn to do the same thing, but they don't have the same experience and training as human drivers. So all decisions are made in real time, which require a lot of information processing and quick thinking. So the basics of generative AI is like AI is a technique or method to make our system intelligent and making some system that work on intelligence. So how intelligence can be provided? So it can be provided by machine learning, deep learning, or built-trained systems based on the past data. And the generative AI, which is used machine learning and deep learning to generate images, text, sound, audio, and etc. So the generative AI, it uses the various transfer-based learning models or variations autoencoders or generative adversarial networks or the convolution neural network like this. So the major difference between AI and generative AI. So normal traditional AI provides the output such as prediction, classification, or cluster-based input data, and it cannot generate. But the generative AI generates the content based on LLM, and the generative AI is especially architect large language models that uses deep learning techniques and massively large data sets to understand, summarize, or generate new content. So, like Google, Microsoft, Facebook are using different LLM models like text LLM, image-based LLM, and the language model provides the words, semantics, and grammar needed to convey ideas and concepts. So, in the AI world, a language model serves a similar purpose, providing a basic to communicate and generate new concepts. So, LLM, where image-based LLM or text-based LLM or generic in nature. So you can see the chat GPT where you can communicate with the model and it answers you with the conventional chatbot or the generative text for various purposes like blog, article, email, essay, brochure, or it can produce a variety of novel content such as images, video, speech, or the generate software code in product design for analyzing email and data and so what are the benefits and applications of generative AI? So the benefit is the faster product development or enhanced customer experience and improved employee productivity, but the specific depend on the use case. So end users should be realistic about the value they are looking to achieve. So especially when using a service as which has major limitations. So generative AI creates artifacts that can be inaccurate or biased and making human validation essential and potentially limiting the time it saves workers. So what are the some practical uses of generative AI today? So first one is written content augmentation and creation is there. So it producing a draft output of text in a desired style and length, the question answering and discovery where it enabling users to locate answers to input based on data and prompt information, then tone where text manipulation to soften language or professionalize the text, the summarization where offering shortened versions of conversations, articles, emails, and web pages, then the classification of content for specific use cases where sorting by sentiment or topic and the software coding where code generation, translation, explanation, and verification is there. So the real world applications in universities like study and homework assistance, generating explanations and solutions for homework problem, it providing the study tips and summarizes of course materials, it offering the virtual tours for a wide range of subjects on explaining complex concepts and answering questions, creating exercises, quizzes, and pronunciation guides, and it helping students improve their essays, reports, and creative writing. So the personalized learning plans, which includes analyzing student performance data to recommend customized study plans and suggested additional reading materials and resources in career guidance. So it providing the advice on choosing major or career path based on student interest and skills. It assists in resume and cover letter writing also. The research assistants like assisting in gathering preliminary research data and suggesting relevant sources and generating citations and bibliographies. The language translation, including the translating foreign language text and documents for international students, and it is supporting the international exchange programs. The time management and organization, where it is creating personalized schedules and reminders for classes and assignment and offering productivity tips and techniques. So the guideline for students on generative AI, to ask them to don't use generative AI unless your course syllabus or professor explicitly allows it, because generative AI has limits. It informs them, although generative AI can produce compelling content, it doesn't have human judgment or understanding, so it can't provide personal insights or contextual awareness, has biases, and it can't replace the value of your own critical learning matters, so AI can be helpful tool for you. So it should support your work or skill development and understanding. However, should not replace it. So what you learn in your course matters for your program and also for your future. So who are the major tech providers in the AI market? So the current major players are as follows. First one is Google. It has two large language models, Palm, which is a multimodal, and BARD, which is a pure language model. So they are embedding their generative AI technology into their suite of workplace applications, which will immediately get it in the hands of millions of people. So Microsoft and OpenAI are merging in lockstep. So like Google, Microsoft is embedding generative AI technology into its products, but it has the first mover advantage and much of ChatGPT on its side. Then Amazon, it is partnered with Hugging Face, and which is the number of LLMs available on an open source basis to build solutions. So Amazon also has Bedrock, which provides access to generative AI on the cloud via AWS, and has announced plans for Titan, or a set of two AI models that create text and improve searches and personalize. Then IBM, which has multiple foundation models and a strong ability to fine tune both its third-party models by injecting data and retraining and employing the model. So you can see the generative AI application landscape where various tools are used in 3D, research, text, video, message, code, speech. So the best free generative AI tools like ChatGPT, which is probably the most widespread model. The Pro version includes plugins for different tasks. The free flexibility to AI or cloud, the Almanac.ai, the Magic Spoon, other presentations included Almanac.ai, Canva, or Gamma, or like Canva, Aerofinely, or Microsoft Designer. So AI tools that revolutionize the work environment like BARD, LLM-based technology, ChatGPT versatile knowledge assessment, chat sport content and research assistant, the document management system, or for assistance and Salesforce, Einstein GPT is there. So the various models like Google Workplace, generative AI capabilities, HyperWrite business writing assistance, or Jasper smart writing creator, Microsoft 365 user data driven, or notable business research platform, Notation AI, Oli, or Rational, Cement, Tommy, Word Writer, like this. So AI tools, so free to use BART. It is a knowledge assistant developed by Google that uses LLM based technology to help you with tasks such as research, writing, and translation, where ChatGPT is versatile knowledge assistant that can be used for a variety of purposes, including customer service, marketing, and sales. And ChatSpot is a content and research assistant from HubSpot that can help you with marketing, sales, and operational tasks. The Google Workspace, where AI features are a suite of generative AI capabilities that are integrated into Google Workspace products such as documents, sheets, and slides. Then free trials available like Dokigami, which is an AI-driven business document management system that can help you organize, store, and share documents more effectively. Einstein GPT, it is a content insights and interaction assistant from Salesforce, so that can help you to improve your customer interactions. Hyperwrite, it is a business writing assistant that can help you to create clear, concise, and persuasive content. So these are the various AI tools. Then Microsoft 365, it is capable business chat, AI-enabled content creation and contextual user, data-driven business chatbot. Notably, it is AI-assisted business research platform that can help you to find and understand relevant information more quickly. Notion AI, it is a content and writing assistant that is tailored for business applications. Ollie, it is a AI-generated analytics and business intelligence dashboard that can be engineered for enterprise use, and Poe by Quora, which is a chatbot knowledge assistant that leverages and pick cutting edge AI models. Then Rational, it is a AI-powered business decision making tool that can help you to make more informed decisions. Then Synapse, it is a AI-supported ideation tool that is designed significantly for business purposes. And you can see the Tom, it is a AI-driven tool that empowers users to create dynamic PowerPoint presentations. Then WorldTool, it is a versatile writing assistant and broad applications. Writer is a writing assistant designed to enhance writing productivity. So primary focus of generative AI initiative is customer experience is 38%, revenue growth 26%, cost optimization 17%, business continuity 7%, and none of the above are not applicable is 12%. So the journey to generative AI. So you can see a series for increasing frequent breakout that makes sense of natural language. So in 2010, near perfect translation of natural language is there. In 2014, mastering the meaning of words, where the language model begins to make sense of meaning of words. Then large language model, foundation models come into existence from 2017 to 22, where it is resulted in language models and can serve as a foundation for customization, creating foundation models. Then in 2022 and onwards, conversational large language foundation models, where the arrival of ChatGPT, which gave the users a simple way to access large language functional model. So it is not just an incredibly advanced model. So it is the ability to tap into the model by conversing with it in natural language. So as AI researchers and Karthik Weeks, now the hottest programming language in English. So what behind the sudden hype about generative AI? So Gartner has tracked generative AI on its hype cycle for AI since 2020, and the technology has moved from the innovation figure phase to the peak of inflated expectations. But generative AI only hit mainstream headlines in late 2022 with the launch of ChatGPT, that is ChatGPT capable of very human seeing interactions. Then ChatGPT launched by OpenAI, so it became wide popular overnight and galvanized public attention. So Gartner sees generative AI becoming a general purpose technology with an impact similar to that of steam engine, electricity, and internet. So the reality of implementation sets in. So, but the impact of generative AI is grows deeper and discover more. So real world applications in universities like content generation, administrative support, research assistance, admission and enrollment, emergency response communication. So in content generation, the automating the creation of course material is there, lecture notes, assessment, and generating content, publications, and the marketing material. For administrative support, it is assisting in scheduling meetings, managing emails, and handling routine administrative tasks, for answering frequently asked questions to faculty and staff, or in research assistance, it analyzing the summarizing research papers and articles and assisting in data analysis and visualization. In admissions and enrollment, where it managing the inquiries from prospective students and automating admissions and enrollment processes. So emergency response and communication, providing automated alerts and communication during campus emergencies. So offering guidance on emergency protocol and procedures. Student support services, which is where it is provided the automated responses to student inquiries related to registration, financial aid, and campus resources. It offering the career counseling and intern recommendations also. In website and social media management, we're generating content for Inst website, blog, and social media platform, and monitoring and responding to online engagement. Then in grading and assessment, it assisting in grading assessment and exams, where analyzing the student performance data to identify areas for improvement. Library and information services, where it is assisting in information retrieval and research assistant for both faculty and students, and automating library catalog and resource recommendations. So you can see in admissions, the main challenge is application processing. So reviewing and processing a large volume of applications was a time-consuming task, so often leading to bottleneck and delays. Essay assessment, where the personal statements for admissions required significant manual effort, so it was difficult to ensure consistency and fairness in revisions. Then applicants in support, so applicants often had questions about the application process, requirement, deadline. So it is providing timely and accurate responses to these inquiries was a challenge. The solution is automated application screening is there. So where integrated AI algorithms to automatically screen and categorize applications based on predefined criteria, and this allowed the admissions teams to prioritize applications that made the minimum requirement. So the generative AI system learned from historical admissions data to continuously refine its screening criteria. Then AI enhanced essay assessment, where the admission officers could use the AI generated assessment as a starting point and saving time while ensuring a standardized review process. And the AI-powered application support, where chatbots were trained using frequently asked questions, and it is designed to provide accurate and up-to-date information. Then as a result, the faster application processing is there. So they reduce the time required to process applications and ensuring that the qualified applications progress to the next stages more quickly. Then improved essay assessment, where admission officers had more time to focus on non-resolutions. So AI-assisted essay assessments provided consistent evaluations and reducing bias and ensuring fairness in the admission process. Then enhanced application experience, where it provided quick and accurate responses to applicant inquiries and improving the overall applicant experience. Increased efficiency. So as a result, the admission staff experienced increased efficiency as routine tasks were automated and allowing them to allocate more time to strategic decision making.
Professor Dadheech,
Yes.
you have 1 minute remaining.
So the risks are lack of transparency, accuracy, IP and copyright, cybersecurity and fraud, and which industries are impacted by generative AI. Like you can see pharmaceutical manufacturing, media, architecture, design, engineering, and so in future, so in business, many people can content creators of some kind. So generative AI will significantly alter their jobs, and whether it can be creating text, images, hardware design, and workers will need to become content and editors, which requires a different set of skill that content creation. So the generative AI model will go beyond responding to natural language queries and begin suggesting things you didn't ask for. So generative AI is made strong in enterprises in next 5 years. So by 2025, 30% of enterprises will have implemented an AI augmented development, and in 2026, it will automate 60% of design effort for new websites and mobile applications. And by 2027, you can see nearly 15% of new applications will be automatically generated by AI without a human in the loop. So this is not happening at all. So the future of generative AI is very vast. So AI is not going away. Learning how to use it appropriately is important, and being mindful of how we use the new technology and how we can save our jobs with it and determine the future of its efficacy. So through an entrepreneurial exploration, we can innovate in ways we have not dreamed of. So this is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dadheech. Any questions? Do we have any questions for a doctor? All right, so you can type it in the chat and we will get it. Dr. Dadheech, I was gonna ask a question, but I would have realized that you were touching on that, or you were going into that aspect, because I was going to ask, where will AI go in the future? I know that AI is not going anywhere, but what do you think the future will look like with AI? Let me just add to that. Jobs, how will it affect jobs? What are some of the skills that you think persons will need to get in order for them to be able to be relevant in the near future or in the far future?
So you can see, so the growing drive to advance AI in India. So it offers the opportunities for job growth in high-paying industry, or the human workers are required to train and develop AI systems. So machine learning engineer or AI ethics specialist and AI and cybersecurity researchers are a few examples
After
of
that,
jobs.
I have to stop you a moment. Could you just come closer to the microphone, please?
So we can see by 2030, the Gen AI leading to millions of required occupational transitions, and you can see it will the AI and automation will displace the million jobs and create million new roles, reflecting a significant shift in labor dynamics between humans, machines, and algorithms.
Okay, Doc. We have another question. How do we use AI to generate exam questions?
So you can see for examinations, you can define the subject and topic, or set the difficulty level, or identify the target examines, or determine the goal of the exam, or you can specify the format of the questions, or you can use the question bank like this auto-generated learning, where an AI quiz maker or an AI test maker will automatically create and prepare questions that are geared towards the subjects you are teaching.
Okay, thank you. We have another one. It said, sir, is it possible to create a OS completely with AI, with all the AI features in it?
So you can see, yes, it is certainly can assess the process, where before you can see AI as an OS is yet to be built, but the possibility are already taking form in the mind of tech leaders. So you can see the one of the most commonly used operating system for machine learning is Linux. So the open source nature of Linux environment lends itself well to the complex installation and configuration processes required by many machine learning applications. So in short, we can say actually why computer scientists came up with another term, so AI, where artificial general intelligence is there. So this is the real deal when it comes to the intelligence. So the thing is, we don't actually have anything like that yet.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Dadheech, for that insightful presentation. All right, no more questions. We're going to be moving on to our last presenter. Do not go anywhere. We are coming right down to our last presenter, Dr. Jowallah. Doc, you can go ahead and share whilst I present your bio. Dr. Rohan Jowallah is a distinguished educator, researcher, and senior instructional designer with a rich career spanning over 30 years in education across the Caribbean, England, and the United States. His extensive teaching experience covers various educational levels, from elementary to university settings. As a prolific researcher, Dr. Jowallah has made significant contribution to the academic community through numerous publications, including a book and several book chapters. He has also served as a reviewer for multiple international journals. Dr. Jowallah's research interests center on critical education issues and the integration of emerging technologies, such as artificial intelligence AI, extended reality XR, learning spaces, and inclusion into educational practices. His work in these areas was recognized with the Research Incentive Award at the University of Central Florida, UCF, in 2022. He is a co-founder of Lifespanded, an organization dedicated to offering courses for self-enrichment and education. Additionally, Dr. Jowallah maintains an active YouTube channel with over 10,800 subscribers, where he shares insights in his research interests and educational topics through more than 280 videos. He is dedicated to exploring the potential of technology in education and advocating for inclusive and equitable learning environments. At this moment, I present to you Dr. Jowallah to make his presentation.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope you are all hearing me. If you're hearing me, moderator, just say yes. And if you're seeing me,
Yes.
also yes. All right.
Yes,
Wonderful.
Doc.
I'm happy to be here because it's a moment of change. The change is happening. And as I listened to the presentation, I said to myself, I fall at a point that it's right. Being the last presenter, I was able to listen and to learn and also to envision what the possibilities are. I want to say that as I look at my presentation this morning, I'll give a little overview where content has been going for the last 100 years. And then I'll move into some things that I will talk about, the concerns as it relates to the evolution of content generation and how we can integrate it to ensure that there's creativity and personalization. Let me say that what we have seen over the past 3 years was not just started then, but practically started maybe centuries ago if you look at the literature surrounding human intelligence pushing on to artificial intelligence. So what better way to start than to have my AI presenter doing the introduction for this aspect of this section. Let's go over to her.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this session. I am Ava, Dr. Jowallah's AI tutor. Welcome to the future of content creation driven by the power of artificial intelligence. AI tools are revolutionizing how we generate ideas and refine content, enhancing creativity and efficiency like never before. AI significantly speeds up production timelines and reduces costs, from automated video and audio editing to creating stunning graphics and animations. When used responsibly, AI is a powerful tool that can elevate our creativity to new heights. Today, Dr. Jowallah will highlight the possibilities and challenges associated with content creation. Over to you, Dr. Jowallah.
And I would say thanks, Ava, for that, that ultimate introduction. Now, Ava is, of course, created by AI. The content, the prompt, the video, and of course, everything here was created by AI. So this morning, as we are listening, I want us to focus on assistive creativity as it relates to AI. I want us to focus on personalized and the audience that we are going to engage with. And I want to look at the ethical considerations. But let me say that movement in AI has been increasing. Over the past 5 or so years, we have seen a movement. Generative AI market, such as ChatGPT, has increased drastically. As a matter of fact, what we have here is a Bloomberg's estimate of what will be spent in another couple of years. It's moving from 67 billion to 1.3 billion by 2032, says Bloomberg's report. And what this states is that we are at the position where we're going to see AI touching everyone, global technology. And part of this movement is going to take place as it relates to content generation. Everyone talked about this morning generating content from artificial intelligence. And the projected growth underscores how AI will, of course, revolutionize the market. Not just the market, but the question was posed this morning regarding the job market. Yes, the job market will change, and so will other aspects as it relates to employment. So with content generation, we had humans once creating all the content. We know we are in a position where content is going to be created by AI. And with that too, there's a concern. So as I go through, I want us to focus on a few things. I'm not going to be long. And one of the first things that come to mind is aspect of content generation. We spoke earlier and we presented the issue of idea generation. Yes, we can use AI as a starting point. We can use it for research and planning. And many academics and students are using it at that point. And of course, if we use it towards production, then we are into another realm, as it relates to our academic papers. Notwithstanding, if a video individual or someone doing multimedia uses it, yes, there are some implications, but when it comes on to academic and of course various media forms, there are two different standards, I would say, at this point, based on how we envision it from higher education. And we can see where AI now has the possibility to edit and redefine. If someone creates a media form, it can, of course, enhance that image. It can put it in, of course, a different zone. We can see Adobe Firefly being able to remove certain elements. So therefore, there's an element of AI practically in many of these editing features now. And let me say, there are some tools that are out there that are free at this point in time that you can try out. And of course, sometimes when you produce videos, and of course, I've done roughly close to 323 videos now. And when we look at it, we're distributing it. We distribute it using AI, again, because the AI algorithm is feeding and telling us who prefers our content. And that's another issue. And when that happens, we also want to know and get feedback regarding the content creation of what did I create? Did I create something that was worthwhile or something that needed to really be revised? So therefore, AI comes into the picture again regarding the content, the feedback. And if you have ever looked at a YouTube analytics platform, you'll see that there's so many elements that you can read that can tell you the time people looked at your content, how long they spent on that content, the population that's going to your content. There are so many elements. So content generation is a cycle from the start of the idea using AI to the evaluation process using AI and algorithms to track viewers staying time on your video until you start using that same information to galvanize more ideas. But when we look at content generation, we can say we have come a far way. We have come a far way to a point where we can say that there are aspects that we have to consider. Let me go to the other slide. When you think about assisted AI ideations, we're looking at AI assisting in the ideas that you have. For example, you want to brainstorm something and you want to start at a point, or you might come to AI with some ideas and ask it to highlight areas that are missing. These are possibilities. So you brainstorm. You have inspiration by finding the special topic that you want to write about. And of course, efficiency. Within that context too, you can pull in real ideas as it relates to what you can make that connection to examples and so forth. So I want to say that the world of multimedia has moved forward, and we have to have the realization that when it comes on to the history of how content was created, it's was created different from now. Yes, in the 1940s and prior to that, we know how content was created and stored. But let us start at 1940s. The invention, not 1940s, but 1440s rather, let get that correction. The 1440s, we saw the printing press. It started then, and we moved on to the chalkboards that we had by the 1800s. And from that, we moved on to educational broadcasting. For the Caribbean, since I'm from the Caribbean, it started in the 1960s. For the United States, it would have started a bit earlier for them. And for other countries, you know the time, if you are above a certain age, when you saw that black and white television or some screen coming into your play. That was content generation too. And then we moved on to personal computers. And personal computers came across for some countries the 1970s, and the content was being displayed to us in that form. We saw that happening and we were able to have that, but when we look at it, for some countries, they got it earlier, so they had access to content, more access before other countries had. And then we moved to the 1990s to the year 2000s and so forth. We had learning management systems that also started to house content. They started to develop content, and the publishers went online. And now we have moved to the era of, let's say, for instance, tablets, smartphones. We have moved to AI, and with this comes new technology, new platforms. We can see on this slide that I'm showing that 50 most visited AI sites that you have, and roughly that was August 2023. That was the last data collected. But we can see Midjourney, we can see ChatGPT, and there are several movements taking place. Now I would say that that figure has gone up tremendously. We are at a stage that we can say that content is being generated at a pace that sometimes it's hard for us to follow. But let us be wary. Someone asked a question about TVEC this morning, and the question is, can we create personalized learning pathways? Yes, for students who need, and the presenter also highlighted that personalized pathways, we can use AI to plan programs. And of course, we can get the content. We can use it to do so many things as it requires. The presenter also highlighted that every student can use that content for their own personalized learning pathways. And as educators, we can do the same. But how we do it is important. We're not just going to leave AI to do the work and we sit back and roll. That's not it. We have to be a part of the content development process. If not, what's the sense? If not, then we are saying that AI is all, but it is not. Because as we develop content, we have a responsibility. And that responsibility is to ensure that we are the evaluators of that content. Yes, you can do your prompt, but you must be the evaluator of that content. So when we look at algorithms, we can use algorithms for personalized recommendation to see where the student needs to go. However, there's a flip side to it. When personalized content that is forwarded to individuals based on preferences such as Netflix, Amazon, and they tailor that content to you and the user without you knowing, that's an issue for me. Because what they're doing is practically moving to a different section where I call that addictive algorithms. We have to be very careful, and that's why I put possibilities, but there are warnings too, that sometimes when we drive and we click our preferences regarding a software, regarding an app, it pushes content that it's not good for your mentality. It's not good for your well-being. So just be mindful of that. As I move forward, I must tell you about an incident because I'm always reflecting. I'm trying to do something every morning. I'm driving to work. I say to myself, why not have a critical thought? You are driving for 40 minutes. Why not drive and record yourself? And this particular morning, I thought I would venture into a genre. So I'd seen something, asked an individual about it, and they said, you know what? That's the genre. So AI content generating tool, and let me tell you this, they are the possibilities now. I've been playing around with a few. They can create a video. They can create a video just by you putting a prompt, and they will streamline roughly 12 scenes together, individual scenes, and put the same character in that scene and coin a video. The possibility is here. So while we look at it, the future is going to be multimodal. It means what the creation of content is going to look like. It can be in any form. And we've seen where ChatGPT is moving towards that. But I want us to watch this video for a few, it's just 45 or less seconds.
Hey, I'm Alex. I never imagined my invention would change the world, but it did. It all started with a simple idea, an app called EcoSaver. Winning a tech competition was just the beginning. I know I had a mission to do more. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of it. Yes, I had to make sure that people would benefit. But I couldn't bear to see my creation become exclusive. So I had sleepless nights and whirled on my project. So I made EcoSaver available to all for free. Doing so would give every access. People from every corner of the globe joined the mission. Now the world is greener, and it's all thanks to EcoSaver. I am so happy.
All right, that video, for the record, was created in less than, let me see, 10 minutes. I put in a prompt. I put in the prompt the genre I wanted. I put in the prompt the context of the story, and it created it. The big mistake I made was to post it. Believing that the AI had produced the right genre and depicted the correct things. I didn't know the genre, but yet I decided to post that. And after posting and getting feedback, one of my daughter's friend called her and she said, you know, I would tell your father this. I've been a good follower on him on LinkedIn, but I had to say this. What he has depicted on LinkedIn is not actually that genre. What he has depicted is far and could be seen as offensive. The question is, should we trust these AI-generated content productions that say that they are representing certain cultures? Or do we need to critically evaluate that content? And as people consider other people losing their jobs because of content generation, let us remember they know their art form. And if we suggest that we know their art form, what we're doing is not the art form that portrays that culture and that society. Another question is that you have to do your research before you actually generate content, because if you generate content just like that and you believe it and you have not done your back work, that's problematic. So you have to engage in research, because AI content is not neutral. It's positioned based on those databases. It's positioned based on those who have control over the system. It's positioned based on those who are using the system consistently and have access to use it multiple times to ensure that that the data is being used from what they have done to inform that system. And another one that astonished me was, I do a lot of critical stuff. Let me go to another one is this story. This story is about a Jamaican farmer. And I want you to listen. And then
Growing up in the Jamaican countryside was a colorful dance of hard work and dreams. I'd spend my days lost in books while my parents poured their hearts into the land. Our farm, bursting with life and vibrant crops, was our haven.
All right, so I'm going to stop there. And this video again was created. There's a lot of feedback. This video was created in less than 10 minutes. What I did not like about the video is that it made certain assumptions. Although I gave it a prompt, it put certain things that were never within the context of Jamaica. For example, a barn house. We don't have barn houses. We don't have huge tractors there. We don't have these buildings that were represented in this picture. So if someone teaching a child or student or anyone in Jamaica presenting this is kind of false. It makes an assumption. And there are many tools, because they have been scanned from dominant text and cultures within the Western world, that present these things in a format. If you're not carefully examining these outputs, then we are in for a problem where we can see that it's undervaluing our culture and the representation of our people. Wherever you are, there are possibilities. Now, another one that we have to look at, I'm not going to play this one, the presentation will be shared, is deepfake, synthetic media. That has been around for some time. I would say roughly from 2016, I noticed the movement there. But we have to know that with fake media, it can undermine several things. The content is produced by AI, by someone putting in a prompt and doing the necessary things. And as we develop content, we have to ensure that the content that is developed has authenticity. People believe in it. If not, then the media forum, we have distrust. We undermine the democratic process. And as a matter of fact, we can have a lot of problems in our society. 2 years ago in Asia, I heard about a case where an individual picture was posted and he was accused of doing something that he had not done. But because of social media and the algorithms pushing the information, of course, 2 innocent people lost their lives. But let us not forget the possibilities that exist when it comes on to our own democracy. Putting purposeful, harmful theories about individuals can be harmful, and of course, discredit the very thing that we are trying to use to save our planet because of false information. As I move forward, and of course, the slides will be shared again. Of yourself. I want to say that ethical considerations, and we have highlighted some of these earlier. We must hold value in what is created. If we're using someone's work, and even if you got it offline, you must state so. You must determine who holds the copyright and ensure that you use it correctly. The issue of copyright varies in various countries. Jamaica and the Caribbean, they are moving towards one. United States, they are still in battle regarding what should happen. And there are other countries working towards it. But globally, there's not really a consensus. We have to ensure that original work of individuals who spend their art form is secure as we develop content, because content that we are developing is not isolated from one. Remember, OpenAI is yet to reveal certain things regarding their model and how they acquired so much information. Yes, we don't understand that. So we have to understand the need to provide attributions when we're using other people's work. There must be transparency, of course, and accountability. And we must establish a mechanism that can spot biases and address harmful output. I want to say the first video that you saw, I created it at a site called Synthesia.io. I could not get that video immediately. It had to be verified. The transcript, of course, at the back end from their production site had to go through, because remember, there are dangers in having these sort of AI generative content, stuff that looks so real and so human in nature. So we have to be cognizant. We have to be aware of these. Let me not say that although I've gone through a few things here, I want to say that there are promises and there are opportunities and challenges. Yes, there are going to be displacement, as you can see, because sometimes when you can use it to increase productivity in an organization, yes, there might not be the need to have X or X number of individuals doing the same task because you can use AI. But with this comes new opportunity as it relates to ensuring that individuals are able to.
Dr. Rohan,
Yes.
you have about 1 minute, sir.
Yes, are able to, thank you, are able to share their data. And of course, we have to understand that the landscape of education is going to change, but we have the potential. Now, as I wrap up, I wanted to finish off with a story. A young woman from rural Jamaica, her education is transformed because she has access now to content developed by AI, generated content, of course. She's now able to navigate the world and reach her goals. She graduates from university because of the democratization of content. We have now the ability to ensure that those who are disfranchised are now able to have content at their fingertips. But as we develop these content platforms and interact and do these videos, let's remember culture, the value of our own situation. Let's remember that these content creation should not devalue our history, but should strengthen our values and increase educational opportunities for all. That's all for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Jowallah. Do we have any questions? So again, you can go ahead and you can type it in the chat, or do you have a question, Rahim? Dr. Jowallah, you know, the presenter before you, Dr. Dadheech, he would have made mention that AI can assist in grading assignments, right? And you would have made mention of, you know, the integrity and all of that. You have to be careful how you use AI, right? I don't know, but I'm not assuming and I'm not accusing, but sometime in the past, I would have, you know, maybe believed that a lecturer would have used, or lecturers would have used AI to mark students' paper, right? What's the impact of this? Because sometimes you can get a grade or you can get a marking that is not really applying to or applicable to your paper, but everyone is coming out with the same responses on their paper based on the fact that AI may have used to mark these papers. I don't know if my question is clear.
Yeah, I think it's clear. I think there are so many possibilities as it relates to that scenario. I think one thing that we have to understand that sometimes teachers have large class sizes and they do these generic sort of statements. Notwithstanding, students have said they have an idea based on research. They have an idea when the teacher is not personalizing that feedback. So feedback must be personalized. It should have elements significant to that paper. You know, I think it's so important that teachers understand the value of their own online persona or that persona in the classroom space. So I think there's a possibility that teachers are and can do it. Notwithstanding, I say you use AI to assist, not to replace your duties as an educator, to ensure that you are reading the student's work and giving that feedback that will allow that student to grow within that sort of framework that should take place. So I think it happens both ways, right? So we sometimes educators will say to students, don't use certain tools, but behind the scenes, they're using it. So I find that kind of a level of hypocrisy as it relates to that, right?
Right, sir. Thank you. A question here said, may you please, Prof, state the basic step in creating contents?
All right. I would say once you start thinking about content creation, I would say that you need to be a part of, you have a script, have an idea that you want to work on. And of course, write that idea out in Word or any documentation. Then you can say to yourself, you know what, how do I articulate this idea? That is the time you go to ChatGPT or any other language model. And you say, I want a script on this. I want that script to be outlined. And you can even ask it to tell you where you want pictures, where are the most appropriate pictures, what's the best scene, and so forth. And it will give you out a script. Once you're finished with that one, I would say to you, if you have access to certain tools, and there are several that can generate images, you can pull your images down. And then you can use those images. Then hopefully you have access to, if you want to go multimedia, that's what I'm talking about. But if you wanted to do video and audio, that's what I'm talking about. So then you could have your video editing software, you bring it together, and some of these software will allow you to even have voice. There are several software out there that you can pull in to get someone to speak for you, to get someone to just do the complete video, but it starts with a script. And even if you're developing content too for LinkedIn, you can do the same. Have an idea, pull some pictures down, and then you write your story, then you edit, then you post. Of course, you see that it was supported by AI. So there are many starting points. You can have your video camera too. You could have your mobile phone and you want to start creating content. You can create content from that. You can edit from your phone. You can post and you can have a review. So there are many possibilities of starting point of starting. So if you want to do just words and reading text, ChatGPT. But if you want to do other forms, you're going to go to various media sources, and there are many. Sometimes I just move from one element to the next because guess what? I've found something better. And that's how I've been rolling along the road of AI.
Okay. Any other questions for Doctor? Okay. So Dr. Jowallah, AI, no matter, even though AI is going up there, because it's going up there, it will still not replace human beings, the expertise of human beings. So is it that it will, you know, there are other skills or skill area that you need to grasp, but as it relates to jobs, where is it going to take jobs? You know, I would have asked that a little earlier.
The first thing that we look at and tasks that can be automated. For example, if you look at truck drivers now in the United States, I would say right now in another 10 or so years, you might see automated trucks on the road. We also have that with cars. And presently, when you go to certain sections of the United States, they have trailers that are being backed up by just AI systems. So we have to look at that. We're looking at, when we talk about content generation, sometimes you wonder if you need the administrative help as you wanted before. Now we can see even one of the presenters presenting that AI can send automated emails and so forth. So we're going to be having reduced areas in that area. But notwithstanding, I would go back to the point to say, when it comes on to certain level of work, we need human intervention. The danger is if we went to a total AI system, then we're going to have inequality in our system because some people are going to have these availabilities that are given to them while others don't. And AI is not for some, but for all. And that is why we need to ensure that we advocate for global legislation as it relates to the aspect of humanity in relation to AI development and deployment, and not thus the capitalization for the capitalist system for them to reap in the benefits at the expense of those who will be displaced.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. All right, so the link for the registration would have been sent in the chat. If you did not register, you need to do so, or else you will not be able to get a certificate at the end of the session. All right, indeed, today has been well spent learning a little more than we already knew about artificial intelligence and how it is that AI can be used in our day-to-day activity. AI is going nowhere, as you would have heard. And so we just have to ensure that we embrace it as we go along into different era. Thanks for being here. My name is Sharvari Earle, and I am the CEO of IC Tech Training Institute. It was a pleasure being here with you today. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the night, the day, whatever it is. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sharvari and Earle. Nice presenter. I know chairing of this workshop. You know, we are grateful to your presence.
Thank you, Doc.
We'll close the session. Right.
Okay.